Well, speaking of natural gas, the discovery about a decade ago of major gas fields off Israel's Mediterranean coast was a tremendous economic boon for the country. It provided Israel with energy self-sufficiency, but it also opened up a source of potential new conflict with its Arab neighbors, especially Lebanon, which has laid claim to some of the offshore areas that Israel say lie in its maritime territory. That dispute, which has simmered for years, has now taken a new turn. And here with more is our correspondent, Westropp-Evans. And Asher, just give us the background on this and where exactly is that disputed area?
All right, so Caleb, what we're talking about is an area of about 860 square kilometres of disputed territory. Well, you can take a look here at the area that is being claimed by both countries. Israel has major gas fields within its established maritime areas, which it is starting to develop and starting to work with at the moment. But this disputed zone also contains heavy resources of natural gas and is being tendered at the moment by Lebanon under claims that it's their territory and their right to sell off for international speculators.
Asher, who actually decides whose territory it is, where the line is?
Look, primarily this sort of maritime dispute is handled by the UN. However, in cases like this, there's usually complex multi-party mediation. The UN has involvement, the United States has involvement, and of course the two parties are supposed to work together. That being said,
supposed to being the operative word.
Exactly.
In this case, it's a little difficult when they don't even speak with each other.
Exactly. There are classification. Lebanon classifies Israel as an enemy state, so the talks were never going to be simple between the two.
Asher, give us a sense of what exactly is at stake here, because a lot of people, I think, don't really realize just how much Israel has become an energy producer, even an exporter, with this discoveries that it's made.
Well, Caleb, I wouldn't say it's too dramatic to say that the future of Israel's energy independence is at stake here. I mean, Israel has now the resources to set aside its own energy independence. The Leviathan gas field alone, the biggest gas field so far discovered, has enough gas to keep Israel in resources for in energy independence for the next 40 years. And that's one gas field in an area that's huge. We can see, looking here, that in 2010, just the discovery of that Leviathan gas field shot up Israel's natural gas reserves.
The second gas field.
Yes, it is. And this is just scratching the surface. You know, there's much more gas to be siphoned off in this immense basin, and some of the most accessible natural gas in the world, being highly under pressure, not too deep, and off the coast of the Mediterranean. Highly accessible, highly valuable.
So, Asher, you're talking about what is at stake. That graph shows just the very bottom line of how much is at stake. How far will that war of words between Israel and Lebanon go? A war that, as you say, is between two countries that don't actually have any diplomatic relationship.
Exactly right, Nurit. And it's a dangerous war of words, building on something that has a very tangible risk for these two players. I mean, we're talking about having energy independence for both players. Lebanon is trying to assert itself more into this gas field and these gas markets. Israel is trying to assert its dominance, and while this officially might be over this 860 square meters of disputed territory, really it's about who controls this gas, who has energy independence, and who has the freedom to continue exploring and developing the Mediterranean gas fields.
And we should note, yes, that Hezbollah, the Lebanese militia, has actually made threats against those Israeli offshore platforms that are out there in the Mediterranean.
It presents a huge security risk for Israel, used to defending its own domestic land borders, but now having to defend these offshore oil rigs as well from potential attacks, whether they be from land, sea, air, whatever. It's a real security risk and economic risk for massive levels of investment, and something that international investors are likely to fear as well. Looking to build platforms here in this area could be a severe risk if there's security risks from terror groups like Hezbollah.
That's really interesting. We certainly talk a lot about how Israel warns against Iran and Iran's expansion. Hezbollah, obviously, an Iran-backed group, and a whole new battlefield that we don't often think about.
Indeed.
Asher Westropp-Evans, thanks for bringing us that story.